Get ready for a double dose of dystopian despair as we delve into the worlds of George Orwell's 1984 and Erich Fromm's theories on authoritarianism. Brace yourself for a society where Big Brother reigns supreme, the thought police are always watching, and history is constantly being rewritten. Then, take a deep dive into the mind of a social psychologist, as we examine the human condition and the dangers of a consumer society that leads to submission to authority. But fear not, for there is still hope for a humanistic and democratic society that values individuality and freedom of expression. So grab your favorite beverage, put on your thinking cap, and explore the world of 1984 and beyond. 1984 is a novel set in a dystopian society where the government, led by a figure known as Big Brother, exercises total control over the lives of its citizens. The society is divided into three classes: the inner party, the outer party, and the proles. The inner party, comprising only 2% of the population, holds all the power and privileges. The outer party, comprising around 13% of the population, is the middle class and works for the government. The proles, comprising 85% of the population, are the lower class and live in poverty. The novel's protagonist, Winston Smith, is a member of the outer party and works as an editor at the Ministry of Truth, responsible for rewriting history to fit the government's narrative. Winston becomes disillusioned with the government and starts to rebel against it, but is eventually captured and tortured by the thought police, who force him to recant his dissenting thoughts and conform to the government's ideology. The novel depicts a society where critical thought and freedom of expression are suppressed and where the government is constantly monitoring citizens through surveillance. The novel's portrayal of a totalitarian government is meant as a warning about the dangers of such regimes and the importance of individual freedom. Orwell's novel highlights how power can corrupt, how those in power use language to control the minds of people, and how those in power can manipulate history to control the future. Erich Fromm, on the other hand, was a social psychologist and psychoanalyst who wrote extensively about the human condition, social theory, and political analysis. Fromm's work often dealt with themes of authoritarianism and totalitarianism, and his ideas and approaches have been influential in psychology, sociology, and political science. He believed that the individual's need for structure, meaning, and direction is a fundamental human drive. When this need is not met, people tend to seek security and meaning through submission to authority when this need is not met. This submission, in turn, can lead to the rise of authoritarian and totalitarian regimes. Fromm argued that the individual's separation from the community, lack of connection to nature, and the rise of a consumer society, contributed to authoritarianism and totalitarianism in the 20th century. He believed that the only way to counteract these trends is through developing a humanistic and democratic culture that values critical thinking, and freedom of expression and encourages the individual to develop their autonomy. In summary, 1984, by George Orwell and the work of Erich Fromm, deal with similar themes of authoritarianism, totalitarianism, and the dangers of a highly centralized government that suppresses critical thought and freedom of expression. While Orwell's novel is a work of fiction that uses a dystopian society to warn about the dangers of totalitarianism, Fromm's work is based on social psychological and psychoanalytical theories, which analyze the human condition and its relationship to society. Both authors stress the importance of individual freedom, autonomy, and critical thinking, and the dangers of conformism and submission to authority.